All right, chat. So, I feel like when was it? It was a little while ago. I wanted to tell everyone like my story, like my origin story, and it kind of goes along with like why I'm doing content creation, my villain origin story. I don't know if it's my hero origin story. How about that? I've been wanting to share it for a while, and I'm gonna do it today. I'm very nervous. I'm nervous about it. This is my origin story. I have like a whole thing written out here. So I'll probably go back and forth. If it looks like I'm reading, it's probably why. Trigger warning. There is a trigger warning for an eating disorder. So during that part, I will have this up on the screen. So it's just one slide. It's just a one short part. I'll be talking about it. But I did want to have this up if this is something that disturbs people. I just wanted you to know ahead of time that this is going to be happening. So the slide before this will pop up. It'll be up for as long as I'm talking about it. And then when you don't see this anymore, it's over. Chat, did I tell you I'm nervous? So early years. For those of you who don't know, I was born in Kenya. My mom's from there. My dad's from here. I was homeschooled. For the most part, I like enjoyed my life there. You know, I was a kid running around the savannah, chasing after zebras. And for the most part, I felt happy and secure and safe. You know, I liked my family for the most part, and there's kind of two themes that'll start to emerge from this story. One of them is just I did not like myself. One of the ways was physically. I just didn't like how I looked. And I remember that this kind of started, like I can't pin like an exact moment, but I remember it kind of started in Kenya where I began to feel uncomfortable with myself, specifically physically. And it may have been, I don't know exactly why, but you just started to like feel this thing of like, oh, other people look like this. I was a little bit rounder. I was a little bit chubby as a kid, but it just started to creep in like that, even at that young age, right? So anyway, we moved to America when I was about 11 or 12. I don't remember exactly, but it was difficult. It was difficult to move to a new country and to not know anyone. I really wanted to fit in. Being at a new school, it was exciting, but it was also just like, there's a lot. You know, you're coming from a different culture. You're coming from, a completely different country. For me, I did whatever I could to fit in, to the degree of like sacrificing who I actually was. So I would do things that didn't fit my personality or that would change like who I was because I thought other people wanted me to be like that, if that makes sense. So like, for example, I am very introverted, right? I'm not very introverted. I'm introverted, but I thought people would like me more if I was extroverted. So I would force myself to do and act like an extrovert because I thought that's what other people wanted. So I began, like this started in like middle school where I would do anything because I just wanted to be accepted, right? And so I'm coming from a different culture. I'm coming into a new school, all this stuff, and like doing anything that I could, even if it meant I wasn't being myself, right? And so these are probably things that most people deal with in middle school, but in some ways I feel like I was good at like being a chameleon, basically like changing to what other people wanted. And it just left me feeling like very unstable and like unsure of myself, just like at the core. I call them like seeds of self-hate, and the seeds probably started like all the way like back in Kenya, right? But these seeds of self-hate really like rooted themselves, like got planted in me. And it was just like, wow, like I don't really like myself because I feel like people don't like who I am and I have to change. I have to fit into like other people's boxes, right? And this is something that like just really carried on for like years and years. I made a decent amount of friends though. It wasn't like I was just like a loner and had no one around me. But most of those friends knew the fake egg, right? So they knew the chameleon. And they were friends with the chameleon to fit into their boxes, right? And that's just how it was like for me in high school. So the next one is the trigger warning. I'm going to talk about it for just one slide, like I said, and then we'll move on. But I just wanted to take a moment just in case anyone wants to turn off for a second. And then once the trigger warning is gone, you're welcome to come back. So in high school, I really began to think that people would like me, specifically girls would like me if I were more skinny. Right? And so I stopped eating. I would exercise until I was dizzy, and people would ask me at lunch, like, hey, why aren't you eating? And I would say, oh, I forgot my lunch. Like, even though it was the fourth day in a row, right? It was the fourth day in a row where I haven't been eating, right? I think I probably struggled with that for probably like 8 months to a year, kind of like this anorexia thing. So we can move on from that. So the trigger warning's over. High school wasn't all bad for me. Like I said, I did have some good friendships and I do have some good memories from that time. but it did solidify some of the negative ways that I viewed myself. So I also struggled with what I call, or at least at the time was like the most annoying question, right? Like, what are you gonna do when you grow up, right? From my point of view, like everyone around me had passion, and it was probably in part of like these people were being true to themselves, and so they had that passion. But here I was like trying to fit in other people's boxes and like not finding that passion, right? There were things that I liked, right? But nothing was so exciting that like I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I enjoyed gaming, but I was told that gaming is a waste of time, right? So I always had like that kind of creative bend. I always had like that desire to like create things like that. But it was kind of like, you know, I don't know, at least when I was growing up, there was like a way you were supposed to do it. You're supposed to go to high school, go to college, get a good degree and a well-paying job, and just, you know, go work for the rest of your life. And there wasn't that like as much of an acceptance of like being a content creator. Like you did not do that, right? When I was in high school, like you just didn't do that. As high school came to an end, you know, especially the last 2 years of high school, everyone's asking me, what are you going to do after high school? And that question like really weighed on me. The ever-present question loomed over me for my final 2 years of high school. You talked about it with friends, you talked about it with family, you talked about it with teachers, and I still didn't know what I wanted to do, but my parents, teachers, and peers pushed me towards high school. Towards college. So I went to college, and I went to college without any direction and continued to feel lost and paying lots of money to feel lost. Getting sick. All right, so I truly believe that our bodies are really in tune with our emotions. Self-hate, I think self-hate can be damaging physically, can be damaging to you physically. About a year or two after high school, I began to feel sick. I lost a lot of weight. And I was in a lot of pain, and I was scared because I had no idea what was going on. Up until this point in my life, I had been fairly healthy, and it took about a year of tests for me to be diagnosed with Crohn's disease. If you don't know what Crohn's disease is, it's a gastrointestinal disease. So there's ulcers in my intestines that will cause a lot of pain, lots of issues. I won't go into that. I don't usually talk about this. In fact, I think this is my first time talking about it publicly on Twitch. Many people that know me, who've known me for a while, might not even know about this fact because I don't want it to affect my life. I don't like that I have this disease, and I don't want people to feel sorry for me because of it, if that makes sense. So I rarely talk about it. And even if like I'm sick because of it, like I won't tell people like why, but I feel like it's important for everyone to know, and it does play into like the way I live my life and some of the things that I do. So I felt like it was important. For 2 years, doctors and more doctors. For 2 years, we did tests, tried different medicines, diets, a couple ER visits to get myself to a place of stability and thankfully remission. This disease is still active in my body, but I'm not in daily pain, which I'm so grateful for. There are days that go by, there are weeks that'll go by without me thinking of the disease, which if you've ever experienced something like a disease like this, to be able to not worry about it for any period of time is just like such a huge blessing. I'm so grateful for where I've been able to get to with my disease. Now, it's not always perfect. There are bad days and stuff like that, but for me to be in a place where I'm in remission, right? So I'm not always having active flare-ups and stuff like that. I'm so grateful for that. More pain. After around the end of those 2 years, I was dating a girl, and it was probably like my first serious relationship. And this relationship brought a lot of like the inner turmoil and the crap that was inside of me to the surface, because all of this long period of time where I was not being true to myself, like all that stuff started coming up, right? And so she broke up with me, and I had like a kind of like a breakdown, and like I hit a low. I hit a real low in that point. But there was just kind of like this moment of like, I don't know. I don't even know how to quite like describe it well, but from that low place, I was able to turn, right? I was able to start to begin this journey of like learning to love myself. So I started to get counseling, right? Started to see a counselor, and began really to try to like love myself and change the ways that I thought about myself. And one of the big ways that I would do this is I would look in the mirror, right? And all those negative things that I thought about myself, all those ways that I had been negative or had just torn myself apart inside, right? I just started to look at myself in the mirror and be like, Egg, you're smart, you're handsome, it's okay to be you. And like, as I began to do this, and like also through the counselor and all that stuff, like these thoughts and these things that were so ingrained in me just began to like, it took a long time. It's not, and there's still days where like I struggle and I'll step back into like some of those old mindsets, right? I just started to begin to accept myself and started to love myself for who I am. I remember when I finally was like, I'm okay with being an introvert, and like I'm cool with just like wanting to stay at home, and like all these things that I thought were like negative things. I'm like, no, this is wonderful. This is just like who I am, and like it's okay to accept that and to be who I am and to love myself for who I am. Introvert squad, let's go. So now I've found a passion, right? So for so long I didn't have a passion, and I think it was 2020 I streamed for the first time, and I was like, I love this, right? I love this. So I enjoy gaming and bringing positivity and joy to people. This is like the first time in my life where there's been something that I'm like, yeah, I like want to do that, right? For so many years of like not knowing, for years and years of trying to fit in other people's boxes, I've like found something that really like helps me come alive, right? So my goal is to not only entertain, but to assist assist anyone else in finding value in themselves. I want to be here to encourage you and cheer you on to be all that you can be. And this has like already happened. Like the Egg Gang is already like this place of like, it's a wholesome, welcoming community where we encourage and build each other up. But I just want these things, like, we know this already. Like if you're here, you're part of the Egg Gang, like, you know these things already, but I just kind of wanted them to like emphasize, like, this is the place we are, right? A place where you can learn to love yourself, a place where you can find like physical and mental strength, right? And so this is like what it means to be in the Egg Gang. I'll probably refer back to this story from time to time, and I want to create like a really short like snippet version so people kind of know like, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm all about, right? And this is like where we're going. I want to encourage us all to learn to love ourselves and to accept ourselves and to really to become the best person that you can be. I think that just kind of like encompasses a little bit more of like why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, it's not just to play games because I think it's fun. Absolutely, it's fun, and like that part of it is amazing, but there's more that like I want to bring. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Okay, hey, we did it, chat. We told the story.